Within this video, I'm going to reveal why all Black parents should homeschool our children. If that statement sounds ridiculous to you, it's not because I'm crazy. It's because you've been socialized to think in ways that benefits the white society. Whenever the oppressed have been socialized to think in ways benefiting their oppressors, a speaker of truth among them will always sound like a raving lunatic. Socialized is when the oppressors exploit their monopoly over the information that are fed into the minds of the oppressed to condition the oppressed to think in ways benefiting the oppressors. The human mind is like a computer. No matter how efficient it may be, its reliability is only as great as the information fed into it. If it's possible to control the input into the human mind, then regardless of how intelligent people are, it's entirely possible to control what they will believe and what they will think. Likewise, the white oppressors exploit their monopoly over the input of information that are fed into the collective minds of the Black population to shape our beliefs and our thoughts in ways that are beneficial to their white society. This practice is called socialization. The socializing of the oppressed is actually a very common secret practice. Throughout Western history, those empires that were brutally oppressive have always protected themselves from acts of massive retribution from the oppressed by socializing the minds of the oppressed. Furthermore, those oppressors that maintained their power and control over the oppressed population have always done so by manipulating the collective minds of the oppressed. They go out of their way to make sure that the oppressed population is perpetually misled and manipulated in ways that aids the oppressors in maintaining their social status, control, and dominance over the oppressed population. Therefore, the oppressed population's ways of thinking and collective mindset are formulations that have been subliminally embedded into their collective minds by their oppressors without the oppressed even realizing it. Today, this heinous practice and tradition still continues in regarding to Black people living under white social dominance. Black people have been socialized by the white society. In fact, given the white society's long history of racism, oppression, and discrimination against Black people, to not have socialized Black people would have been directly against the interests of the white society. Millions of Black people must therefore be deprogrammed because millions are currently functioning based upon a program mindset that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. And of course, most of us have never heard of this. The oppressed rarely learns of this fact. Sadly, they've got our people so confused and so mentally enslaved that many find it easier to continue believing that we're being manipulated by silly slave syndrome myth than to accept the truth of our plight and condition, which is that we've been socialized to think in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. Malcolm X said that only a fool would allow his enemies to educate his children. But millions of us does so because we've been socialized to do so. More specifically, we have been socialized to believe that the white society has earned our trust and the credibility to educate our children, but they never have. They merely socialized us to believe that they have. This is the truth of our plight and condition. Now I will reveal why all Black parents should homeschool our children. Education is much more than a matter of developing a student's cognitive ability in math and language. It is the process of imparting information, knowledge, and values which best enables students to realize their highest potential. Studies shows that how children behave is greatly influenced by what they're taught to believe about themselves. Therefore, it is extremely important that children be taught of the many contributions made by their particular group. Students can then reference these messages about their particular group to acquire their self images and assess their potential and capabilities in relation to these information. Therefore, an educational setting that properly nurtures the aspiration and potential of a child is one that includes the many contributions made by the child's particular race or group. This is a basic human need, and it is this basis that children use as a point of reference for their potential. It is particularly important for children living under difficult circumstances to know about and be able to identify with members of their group who can help them feel good about being a member of their particular group. This basic human need is being deliberately withheld from Black students during their educational development. White governed schools do not provide a racially affirming curriculum to Black students as it routinely does so for white students. They instead intentionally give Black students a marginalized version of their history. It is a classroom setting wherein which the majority of the achievements and contributions made by Black people throughout history are systematically, deliberately withheld from their education development. Black students are taught from curriculum that primarily exalts the history and achievements of whites only, while marginalizes their own. For many Black people, their schools are in fact the places where they first experience the implication that there is something inherently lesser about being born Black. And this Black racially devaluing education curriculum is being pumped into the impressionable young minds of generations of Black students without being counterbalanced by an equal amount of positive Black racially affirming information. Consequently, Black students must constantly resist the negative perceptions of being Black implicit in an educational curriculum almost exclusively dedicated to white ideologies and white achievements and white contributions. Furthermore, Black students are subjected to this demoralizing miseducation for 7 hours a day from the ages of 5 through 18. Clearly, considerable damage can be done to the self-esteem of many Black students within such a large time frame. This is by deliberate design. The white educational system's failure to adequately provide Black students with a racially affirming curriculum, as it routinely does so for white students, is actually a social science that's being done for maintaining white social dominance. Because for a ruling class to maintain its position of social dominance over its oppressed population, they must condition the oppressed from a very early age to accept their subordinate status and to adhere to the authority of the dominant culture. To do so, the education given to the oppressed population from the time that their minds are young and most impressionable must be the type that denies them of a racially affirming education. This conditions the oppressed to perceive themselves through a false, inherent, subordinate, inferior identity that makes them more accepting of their subordinate status within a society dominated by the oppressors. When the oppressed population is denied of a racially affirming curriculum, even the brightest among them may have little, if any, hope of mentally extracting themselves from their assigned low dominated position within the society. This is the true reason why Black people learn more Black racially affirming facts from each other than we do so within our white governed schools. During the educational development of Black people, Black students are literally being subconsciously conditioned to negatively perceive themselves and to favorably perceive whites. White social scientists describe the nefarious practice as merely instilling a value system into the collective minds of black students that makes them grow up adhering to the authority and existing infrastructure of the white dominant society. Schools are tools of the government designed to mold the student's character accordingly. It's how white oppressive forces maintain their dominance and protect themselves from massive unified black retribution. The white society will never provide black people with an education that truly liberates us. It's against their interest to do so. They will instead always miseducate us to think in ways that serve the system of white supremacy. We are the books we read, the education we're taught, the media images that we watch, because these are controlled by the white society. This allows them to socialize the minds of black people without us even realizing it. It's truly mental slavery. And those black people who do not critically think never notices their mental change. Our condition has nothing to do with a silly slave syndrome myth. That myth presents what would be the least effective method used for controlling generations of people. That myth is being used to distract us from learning this truth. Because as long as our understandings of our plight and condition remains flawed, then all of our liberating strategies that stem from those misunderstandings will also be flawed. We are being socialized through the white society's monopoly over information that are fed into our minds. And as long as they're controlling our education of our children, they're creating future mentally enslaved black people. We must wake up to our reality and then develop strategies to free ourselves. One love and peace.